Welcome to day 10 of our coming out conversations. And this is all centered around the Lord's word in Revelation chapter 18, verse 4, where he says, "Come out, my people, come out of her," referring to this Babylonian structure. And we have almost used Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51 is our reference point. We are 10 days into our journey, and I expect that this journey will culminate in day number 12, which I believe will be our last day. And as I was thinking about this today, it was interesting because I was thinking, oh my goodness, we are actually we've only really covered Jeremiah 50 from the first verse until almost verse 21, and we've almost been led to converse around that, and there's just so much more. But at the same time, as I read the rest of Jeremiah 50 and 51, it was basically a picture of this battle that is taking place, a battle to bring Babylon down. And as I read through this battle and as I just thought through this battle that was taking place, it made me realize that probably the reason why we have spent 9 days without even getting into the battle is perhaps the preparation before the battle is actually where our attention is required. And I know personally, because I'm for people who know me, I've got the personality of, once I see something, once I get something, I'm the guy who's out there in the front lines wanting to get things done. And often, today I was just reflecting and yesterday that how often I'm so quick off the mark to want to get to the action and to want to do what I believe I should be doing. And I believe in most instances, it is actually what I should be doing and what I've been called to do, but perhaps I've been too quick off the starting blocks to get to the action. And as I reflected on that, looking at how we've almost spent time reflecting on covenant, reflecting on the presence of the Lord, reflecting on hearing God's voice, building momentum, as we reflected on the idols. What are those idols? What are those things that are stopping us from being in the presence of the Lord? And, what are those things that have become veils that are stopping us from truly entering into the presence? Have we walked down that red carpet from the cross into the Holy of Holies, into the presence of the Lord? And all of those things were just questions that I was just pondering as I looked at the rest of this. Because if we look at Jeremiah 50 going forward, we see this picture of the Lord raising up this army, releasing this army into battle, this army that then plunders Babylon. And I believe that plundering is a plundering not just of resources, but it's a plundering of people, the Lord's people who are held in captivity by the system. So there's literally a shift of resources for the purposes of God's plan over his covenant people, which is Israel in this case. But it's reflecting all of us as we, I believe, come into alignment with what the Lord is doing. So as I looked and analyzed this battle, there are a couple of things that were interesting for me. In verse 28, it starts off by saying, "Listen to the people who have escaped from Babylon as they tell in Jerusalem how the Lord our God has taken vengeance against those who destroyed his temple." And I just thought, it's almost as if he's saying there's a remnant. There are some forerunners, some pioneers who come out of Babylon first, and then he then tells everybody else to listen to them. And I thought, that's interesting. And again, is part of this journey, the Lord preparing a remnant who he will lead out of Babylon because of their desire to want to be in his presence, to listen to his voice, and to wait upon him. And therefore, they will open the way that will help others to come out. So that listen word was very interesting for me. And then again, if I looked at it in Jeremiah 50, verse 45, again, it says, listen to the Lord's plans against Babylon. And again, I thought, this is about his plan. It's about his battle strategy. It's about how he wants it done, not what I think needs to be done, not my best strategy won't work in this. It has to be the Lord's strategy for us to be able to do this. And I just recall so many times where I've rushed out into the battle with my strategy, and that hasn't worked so well. I've been pondering a couple of things again today, and I wrote a number of things down. And I was saying to myself, Lord, help me to see what you see in every situation. Help me to think as you think. Help me to feel as you feel. Help me to experience the emotions that you experience. And then help me to hear what you are saying so that I can get instructions from you, so that I can know what you are seeing, so that I can feel what you are feeling. I think the way you are thinking, because I think that's the essence of us being in the presence of the Lord, so that we can get the instruction from him based on what he wants to do. And therefore, how the instruction, even for the battle, is his instruction. It's his battle blueprint that we are really seeking. And again, it just brought me to that place of really, asking that question. When I pray, am I praying according to what you see, God? And am I praying according to your battle strategy? Am I decreeing? Am I declaring according to what you want me to declare? Or am I declaring according to what I want? Am I declaring for the purposes of self-preservation? Am I, again, that word self, is it about self that I'm praying into? Even when I look at prophetic word, what's my role in bringing prophetic word to fulfillment? And do I view prophetic words through the lens of my self-preservation, my self-ambition, what I want, or do I view it through what you want? And again, I've really just realized that the Lord is wanting me to slow down, to view everything through his eyes, so that I can truly understand what he is saying and move according to what he's saying, decree according to what he's saying, declare according to what he's saying, and pray according to what he's saying. I also then just started, as I thought about that, it brought me to a couple of other scriptures that I think we have used in prayer, in the spiritual battle. And the one that came to mind so strongly was 2 Chronicles 7:14, which we use almost everywhere. At least I've used that almost everywhere. When my people who are called by my name, when they humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear, I will forgive, I will heal their land. And I thought, in all of that, it says, when you seek my face. And I thought, wow, isn't that a call to covenant? It's literally saying, when my people who are called by my name, who have come out of Babylon, when they humble themselves, when they pray, when they seek my face. Another way of even saying that could be when they enter into my presence to hear my voice, when they commit to coming into covenant with me, to seek my face, when they choose to walk down the red carpet from the cross and enter into the Holy of Holies. And I thought, is it possible that we have used 2 Chronicles 7:14 so often, but we haven't maybe gotten the results because maybe we haven't understood what seeking his face actually means in that scripture? So I'm still working through that. Another key element or tool or weapon that we have in our spiritual warfare is fasting. And I thought again, how often have I fasted based on what I think I need to do in fasting? And it made me think of Isaiah 58, where the Lord actually says, let me tell you the fasting that I require for such a time as this. And he then talks about the fasting I require is, what are you doing for the widows? What are you doing for the orphans? What are you doing for the helpless? What are you doing for those who are facing injustice? What are you doing to bring people who are oppressed into a place of freedom? And he says, that's the type of fast I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to go about your religious ceremonies of fasting, but take your fasting instruction from me, because I will show you, I will tell you what fasting I require for this particular situation. And again, I thought, oh Lord, may I never again fast following a recipe or following a principle that this is how fasting is supposed to be. May I always be in that position where I come to you and I ask you, Lord, which is the way you want me to fast? Which is the way we need to fast for this? And again, when I thought about Isaiah 58, I thought, wow, isn't that perhaps describing the fast that is required in a Babylonian battle? Because Babylon is all about greed. It's all about selfishness. It's all about pride, and is perhaps the Isaiah 48 fast literally what goes directly against that? And is that what brings the breakthrough in a Babylonian battle? Again, interesting thoughts on that one. Another discussion that I was also having interest in as I started thinking about the spiritual aspect of battle. I thought about Gideon. And in the story of Gideon with the Midianites, it just struck me that there was a prophetic word that was given around what the Lord wanted to do to actually release the Israelites from the captivity of the Midianites. There was a face-to-face encounter through an angel with Gideon. And out of that, Gideon then starts to dialogue with the Lord through the angel, even though he was unsure what to do, but he entered into this dialogue. And after the dialogue, he then got the battle strategy. And part of that battle strategy was as ridiculous to the human mind as it seems. A big part of that battle strategy involved the ram's horn, the shofar, the trumpet, and also these lamps. And as I thought about that whole battle strategy, I thought, okay, is it possible that the Lord knew that the spiritual principality and power that effectively gave the Midianites their power to do what they were doing was centered around sound and light? And therefore, the strategy that God gave Gideon was one to blow the shofars, which would release a sound that would completely shatter and break the stronghold of the enemy that was being driven by sound. And as they broke the clay pitchers and released the lamps of light, it would pierce the darkness and render the spiritual forces that were empowering the Midianites and literally render them null and void, such that when Gideon and his army went in, they literally just went in, and all the strength of the Midianites had been taken away at a spiritual level, because the Lord had guided him with exactly the strategy that was required to render the spiritual stronghold or the spiritual empowering force that was behind the Midianites. And therefore, Gideon could go in and he could effectively win that battle. So today's discussion left me pondering, Lord, how do this battle into Babylon? Perhaps it's first of all my heart. How do Lord, help me to remove Babylon from within me? It has to be in my heart first. And as I commit to that, then Lord, help me to understand the power structures, the spiritual power structures behind the different elements of Babylon. And that could be even systems and structures. Freemasonry, we know, is one of those structures. Here in South Africa, the Broederbond is a structure. Across the world, you hear things about the Illuminati, you hear the deep state, you hear ancestral worship is a big thing in the African context. But Lord, what are those things that give those structures powers, and what is the battle strategy? Is it the sound of the shofar? Is it the light? What does that look like? Is it my declaration? What are the words that I need to speak? What are the things that I need to do to be able to deliver and to be able to go into this battle and execute it according to your strategy, which starts at a spiritual level before I even go into the front line, as I so often do, because of my nature to want to go in first and to want to get the job done, but perhaps the spiritual side has not been done well enough. So I really believe that as we read Jeremiah 50:51, there's a spiritual side of this battle that the Lord wants to reveal to us, wants to reveal to you as to what that looks like for you. And then I think tomorrow we will look at perhaps what does the natural side of that battle look like, and how do the spiritual and the natural begin to work together so that we win this battle, but understanding, first of all, there's a spiritual onslaught and there's a spiritual strategy that the Lord has already worked out that we just need to get. And as we get that spiritual strategy, the Lord also reveals what we need to do in the strategy in alignment with that spiritual plan. And we go off and we do what we need to do in the natural. So yeah, I'm quite excited about this. This has been a major shift and will be a major shift going forward for me. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you on day 11 before we get to the end of our conversations. God bless.